Hello, my name is Fiona, and I'm going to be talking about my week 13 photographer spotlight assignment and the photographer I chose. So, the photographer I chose, his name is Mikey Golek, and he's known for being a queer photographer, but he takes a lot of portraits and candid photos. And one of the pictures that really stands out to me by him that kind of made me choose him as my photographer is his pictures that he took with him and his friends. His friends had recently moved into their dorms, fresh into college, and he decided to come with them when they were moving in and unpacking all their stuff to take just kind of candid photos of them on the first day in their dorm, on their bed, all cute, and I love it. And when I saw that photo, it just really stood out to me because I'm living the same exact experience as those girls in the photos. So it really kind of gave me a different side of this photographer because he's really known for his portraits in the LGBTQ community. But this also shows that might be his main source of photography, but he does realistic candids. And it really stood out to me just because like I said, I'm living in that same exact experience as those girls in the picture. And these are really realistic photos. They aren't posed. They just feel more intimate than most pictures. And I feel like Mikey could be considered a photojournalist. And I feel like that he isn't really a traditional one, but he could definitely be considered one because he gives really good documentary style images and they're really focusing on personal identity and representation rather than breaking news and important events. But I feel like representing an individual, especially if they're not really represented often, is very important no matter the circumstances. And I found out about Mikey and his images because, first of all, there's a link that you gave us about kind of just lower class photographers, you could say. They aren't really noticed. And so I definitely looked at the list. I found him. I did a little Google search. I deep dived in every single one of these portfolios basically. And he was the only one that really stood out to me. Like you could tell as an individual he doesn't really care about publicity and he just wants to do what he wants to shoot, you know? And I feel like that's very important, especially as a photographer, because it's just representation of yourself. And I feel like that's pretty cool. Um, and like I said, going off of what I said earlier, an informed guess off of his personality, he just seems very thoughtful, empathetic. Um, he sees the things that most people don't see about his subjects. He seems like a very comfortable individual and very trusting. Um, and I just feel like he seems like a very sweet soul to be around. And if I could ask him one question, it'd probably be like, how do you get your subjects to trust you so much? Especially because all of them, well, majority of them are in the LGBTQ community, and I feel like that's a very overlooked and stereotyped community. And he finds a way to open up with these individuals that most of the time shield themselves from the public and their actual true self-expression, and he finds a way to let them feel seen in a way they normally don't, and I feel like that's very important to do. And I feel like it's also the main reasons photographers exist is we're just showing the world real people and real events, and I feel like all photographers are very honest about what they're shooting and what they're revealing information wise, and it's just whatever a photographer's shooting, most of the time it's very important and it's getting represented in a certain way that should be represented. So, like I said, I'm just featuring him because he's very underrepresented in the queer and trans and non-binary community for a photographer, but he seems very personal, soft, respectful, while he shoots, and I feel like that's also very important. But he's also, I found out he's a New York based photographer. He's a FIT student, which is very interesting. He's a fashion student for being a photographer. That also shows a lot because it shows you could be a photographer while having a completely different career choice or career path. But he just seems like a very gentle person that is very centered on inclusion and visibility in smaller communities, but even big communities. Like, he just wants everybody to feel seen and he shoots what he wants to shoot. So, thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you're having a great day.